this is it. It's getting kind of close. So,
how long have you worked on days?
I've been on days most of my life. I've been fortunate there. Kind of fortunate, kind of unfortunate. I hired in on probably the worst line in the whole department, the whole factory. And it was so bad. Well, I started out on afternoons, and the guy on days had been there on the same job for 30 years, same machine. And he retired, and I bumped days. And I had less than 4 or 5 months seniority. Nobody worked days with that little amount of seniority. But the job I had, people wanted to know where they were going, and they wouldn't bump me. So people would come around and says, I just want to see where I'd end up at. So I stayed on days for a long time, and no one else, with that little amount of seniority was able to do that. So I don't know if I was fortunate or not, because I had a terrible job. But that's one thing about, working in a factory where, seniority counts. That's how you get your jobs. You bid for another job. So seniority counts. The more seniority you have, the better job you will get. So, and that's fair. So when you start out, you just expect the worst jobs. But it's been a long time. You want to hear when I first hired in, or?
Oh, we'll get that as we go in the car, so you can go ahead and grab your lunch pail or whatever.
I'm basically done here, so.
If you want to go kiss your wife goodbye, we don't want to take that from you.
Oh, yeah. We'll wait here.
Already did. I thought I'd be leaving as soon as you guys showed up, so she knows. Well, this is it. It'll go off.
Can we keep it on?
Oh, you say, can you keep it on?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
We don't want
It's probably
to
not.
make it hard for you to drive.
It's probably not legal, but I don't care. As long as we don't get stopped. Normally I would park in the garage, but I knew you guys were coming, so I thought I'd make it easier. It's just kind of hard to see now. Once I start going forward, I'll be okay.
So if you don't mind, just kind of reminisce with me. Tell me about your first day when you started way back, how you felt and everything.
Well, I'll even back up. I started in 2 weeks from Friday. I'll have 40 years. So I've been there quite a while. And I heard that, and back then it was called Warner Gear, and it will kind of always be Warner Gear to me. I heard they were hiring, so I lived uptown. I didn't have a vehicle, so I had to walk over to the plant, and that's when they had 2 plants over on the east side of town, which is on Seymour, if you're familiar with where that's at. And I went over, I got an interview, talked to the guy, and he said he would hire me on one condition. I was just a kid, but he said he would hire me if I'd get a haircut, which I don't know if they do that today. But I thought he was kidding, and I said, sure, I was going to get one anyway, because I knew I'd be in a factory, which is sometimes kind of warm. And he was serious. So I had to walk back uptown to a barber shop, got my hair cut, walked back to the factory, and talked to him again, and he hired me. And then I had to walk back home again. So it was a pretty good walk that day. And then the following Monday is when I went for my first day at work. And that was kind of memorable because I didn't have a car. My uncle took me to work, which is okay, except he took me to work an hour early because he worked at Chevy. So I went to work at 6:30. I thought he was going to come and get me after work, which he didn't, which meant my brother, I called him, he came and got me, and I didn't leave till an hour late. So my first day was a 10-hour day. Hectic day. But it was quite an experience because, first of all, it was like Warner Gear was considered an elite job. I mean, there was factories all over town, but that would be one of the top three. You know, so it was Warner Gear, it was Chevy, Delco. That would have been your best factory job. So I was kind of excited about going to work there, but also kind of, you know, a little bit of afraid because I was just a kid. I went out there on my first day. If you've ever been in Warner Gear, it's a huge place. And I guess in its heyday, it had probably 6,000 people working there. When I hired in, it was probably 2,000, which is still a lot of people. And so I go in and I have to get directions on where to find my department and where to work. And what is sad, I mean, it's so much different than today because it was just machinery everywhere. You didn't see vacant spots or wide open spaces. It was all the same color machines, green. And it was actually, if you walked away from your machine, if you got 30 foot away, my fear was, what if I get lost and can't get back to my machine? It was really all looked that much alike. So that was a big fear. And but you know, another thing it's changed so much is the activity. I mean, there was so much going on then compared to now. There's a lot of assembly going on now. And back then it was just so much being produced, so much like shavings, just everything was just so much more. We had probably 20 truck wells and semis was just coming and going all day long. I mean, they'd just be lined up, you know, hauling out transmissions and just busy. And we had a railroad out back, and they would use railroad cars to haul away shavings, and they would use railroad cars to haul away transmissions. Just a busy, busy place. And now you see it really winding down. If you walk through the place, it's just, they've been taking machinery out for pretty solid for a year. There's just so much gone. And just really a lot different place now. Where when I first got on labor, there was probably over 120 labor people. Now there's 9. That's all 3 shifts. For a long, long time, I worked outside, and there were 13 people out there. Now there's 1, me. So it's changed a lot.
How do you feel about, I mean, this is almost your last day of driving in of this routine for 40 years.
Well, you know, I always knew this day would come. I would retire, and it was getting close to that point anyway, but it was kind of always, it would be my choice. I would have been, you know, deciding the day when I would stop working. And now it's been decided for me. And I've got a list of names in that little bag I've got that tomorrow 146 people are going to get permanently laid off. Basically, they're done. And you know, when you think of 146 people, and then started out, you know, we had probably 700 a couple of years ago, and now we're down to about less than 200. So after Thursday, there's going to be roughly 50 people in that plant. And but you know, I've got the list, and I was looking at it. I mean, it's not just a list; it's people I know, and as I read these names, it's people, you know, I'm friends with. I know these people. These aren't just statistics. You know, they've got homes and families and wives, and it's going to be sad because I'm one of the fortunate ones. I can retire. I'll survive. And these people, they're 50 plus years old. They're going to have to be looking for new careers. I don't want to go to school at 50. I don't want to have to learn a trade. And and my family's depending on me. I mean, it's kind of, for their sake, it's going to be really difficult.
How do you feel about this plant closing, all the plants closing here in Muncie, and the effect of it here?
Well, for some people, they'll do okay. They're going to start new careers, but for some people, it's going to be difficult. A friend of mine, and he can't retire, and he's probably 58, and he said he basically was done. He didn't see himself getting another job, and so I don't know. For a lot of people, it's going to be, this chain reaction of a loss of economy, but for a lot of people that would like to relocate, how do you sell your home? You can't sell it. We've even considered relocating, but we'd have to sell our house first, and the market is just so bad right now. I don't think we can do that. So I'm not sure what these people are going to do. But I think the uncertainty has been affected a lot of people, because I talked to a couple people yesterday that they know they're getting permanently laid off Thursday, and I think they were just relieved. They said they're just, the wait, the 2 years not knowing, and now it's final, and they can move on with their lives, and it's not going to be this, what do I do, when, and now they know.
As far as like all these factories here in Muncie and even around the country closing down this way of life, I'm sure what kind of thoughts do you have maybe about that?
Well, I know for a fact that we've made them money. It's you hear the corporate greed, and yeah, I know that they're in there to make a business, to make a profit, but I know over the years, we've done well with them. We were willing to bend. We were willing to give up concessions, and I know there was some way we could have stayed in business and they could have still made money. And it's just sad that, at some point they couldn't have come to some agreement. Because 2 years ago, well, in 2005, the company approached us and wanted us to open the contract up, which we did. We didn't have to. And we gave up thousands of dollars each. And the company, made it clear that, if we could give some concessions, we would stay open. And we did. I mean, we probably gave up at least $6,000 a piece, which that's a little bit of money. And we started paying more for our insurance and stuff. So I think the company could have stayed in business there. So a year later, they came back and said, they needed more. Well, we never knew how much more. They never put a price. They never told us what we would have to give up. So then they just announced the closing. So
how different is it going to be for you when not having this routine in the morning as you're approaching the plant up here?
I don't know. I mean, for some people, I know there was a relief. We had quite a few people retire this past April 1st, and they were just relieved to get out. For me, it's going to be a little different, because I've had this same job for probably 30 years. I've been working outside, which was, once I got out there, it's where I always wanted to stay. And the stuff I do, I got more freedom than most. I have my own vehicle I drive, and I move everywhere. And it's just like, it makes the day go by quickly, because it's not monotonous, it's not production. And so for me, it's going to be like, wow, I don't know, coming in. I'm so used to coming out here every day. So it's going to be a big change. I mean, I like vacations, but it's always, I don't dislike coming to work. And I think that's a key, having a job you like to do. If I hadn't have liked it, I wouldn't have been here as long as I have. So I kind of hate to give that up.
BorgWarner being such a historical company here to Indiana and Muncie, what do you think this loss to the community means, maybe?
normally I would say it would be a tremendous loss, but communities usually survive. I mean, we're not the first. We're not hit as bad as maybe other communities. At some point, we'll survive. Our lifestyle may change. We may not have, the economic input that we have now, but we'll survive. There'll be other jobs, maybe not as good as this one, but I think people will go on with their lives. There are courses they can take, schooling, and there's new trades. So I think for a lot of people, and it may be a good thing for some people. They might find something they're really good at or really enjoying doing. I will point this out. If you see this parking lot, you see this over here, this one's completely empty. But through here, you just see spots after spots empty. Around the building, there's probably 200 spots that have been taken away because they didn't need them. But it wasn't too many years ago, if you got here at 20 after 7, you didn't park here. This place was completely full. There would be people parking on the grass down here, and the rest would have to park across the road. So it just gives you an idea of what this place used to be like. Now you park anywhere you want to. So that part is sad. You just realize how many people have left this place. And there used to be, it was a big, they called it the Wall of Fame inside, and it was a list, had these little name tags on it of all the people that came through BorgWarner that's retired with 30 years. And it had like the current people that could retire on one little end of it, and you just see these thousands of names of people that came through here, and you could just kind of look through and see people that maybe you've heard of or knew years ago, or like my wife's grandfather worked here. I mean, just a lot of people that came through this, but this was just the ones that retired with 30 years, and there's like thousands of them. So you just can't get the impact of how much, how many people has this place touched, in the years it's been here.
Well, we'll go ahead and I'll let you. What I'd like to have you do is we'll follow you. You can go inside the door, and then we'll cut the camera.
Okay, well, I'm gonna change shoes first, and then I'll tell you when I'm going. Okay, did you get anything worth listening
No,
to?
it was interesting.
I don't want to ramble, but I don't know exactly what you want, so.
Part of your routine,
You always change your shoes?
This is it. I changed my shoes, and what's another thing that I'm really looking forward to in about 2 weeks is throwing these away, and I don't have to do this every day. What's really amazing is how much I've accumulated here in 40 years as far as stuff in my lockers, clothing, because I'm outside. I've got so many changes of clothes, different types of coats and just hats, and I started taking that home in the last couple of weeks, and I've got a garage full of stuff. I had 4 lockers full of stuff. Well, where I'm at, there's nobody there anymore, so I got plenty of lockers, and it's amazing what I've accumulated. And at some point, I'll probably throw away a lot of it, but you want your mic back? Okay, so you're gonna be out here when I come out?
Yeah, we'll be right here.
I won't be one of the first ones out, so
What time do you get before you leave?
It's 3:30, but I'll be kind of dragging out the back because we still have to go through the checkpoints every day. They do the bucket checks and all that, going and coming.
Yeah.
That's a daily routine, so it takes a little bit of time to get through it. forgot about it.
How was your day?
Busy. Do I need a mic?
Yeah, real quick. Okay.
All right. Just me and you, huh?
Yeah, just you and I today. This afternoon.
Are you ready?
Yeah. So, how was work today? And almost the last day of work.
It was
For a lot of people.
very busy. You want to know what I did, or?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, first couple hours I operate. We've got a wastewater treatment plant across the road. It's kind of a safety valve now. It used to be our main wastewater treatment plant, and everything, any oil, anything went there. So now we have one on this side of the plant, and they get most of the oil. But if for some reason we would have an oil spill, something massive, well, you know, where all the fish died in Anderson not too long ago, we were looked at real close. But we will never, the way we're set up, we'll never get our oil into the river. We have a bunch of safety valves where it's just not going to happen. So anyway, I operate that for part-time, and the rest of the time today I was putting magnesium chips in barrels, which doesn't sound real exciting, but it's something that just needed to be done.
Tell me, did you guys, very many people talk around work today about tomorrow?
Well, I was outside. I was by myself, so I really didn't get to talk to many. I didn't get to talk to anybody, really. So that's one of the disadvantages of my job. I'm a lot of times not around very many people. So I can go a whole day and really not talk. I talked to my boss. Other than that, that was just about it.
Yeah. See salary?
Yeah.
How do you think the salary guys are feeling about this? What have they talked about?
Well, I don't know. I mean, my boss, he's well educated, makes a tremendous salary, so I have a feeling that he can get a job. He drives from Indianapolis every day, so I imagine he's getting tired of that. So he may be looking forward to just finding something a little different, something closer to home.
Do you know, has he been working there a long time?
He's been here a long time, yeah, probably 20 years. So it amazes me how far people will drive to work. I mean, we've had them come from as far as Ohio to work here, which I can't imagine driving that far. It's a long ways every day.
How do you feel about some of the guys with the benefits and the contracts they're ending up with who aren't going to be retiring? Because I know there was some squabbling over that.
Well, what happened is, you know, there's people that, you know, it's one of the requirements is you work 30 years, you get to retire with a pension and you get health care. Well, for the people that did that, they expected to be able to retire with a pension and receive health care. Well, 2 years ago when they announced they're closing, a lot of the younger people who knew that they were not going to be able to retire, they were going to miss the 30-year period, they started kind of it really kind of split our union into, you had the people with 30 years and you had the people that were less than 30 years. The people that was over 30 years wanted the retirement and wanted their insurance, which was understandable. And the people with less than 28 or less than 30, which is a lot of 28, it's going to just get real close but won't quite make it. They wanted a package deal where we would sell our insurance and they would get part of the money, which to us is not quite right, because it's like selling your house and giving me part of your money. It was my insurance. It was not my. If they did sell it, I should have got all the money, not divided up with the people that didn't earn it. But that was our feeling. So they ended up voting on it while they were in the majority, so it passed that they sold her health care and they're going to get part of the money, which we didn't think was right.
Do you remember the big vote in, I think it was 89 or something, where you opened the contracts that seemed to be kind of a turning point with BorgWarner?
A turning point?
Where they decided to close after that?
Was that 89 or was that later?
Might have been later. I could be off.
They've threatened just about every contract they threatened to close. So that has been nothing new. And they've been threatening it ever since I've been here. So it was nothing new when they said they would or they might. So we thought, well, it was just more of their threats. But I think part of it was in 2005 when I told you this morning about how we opened up our contract and we renegotiated it. Well, we got a letter. This is from the head person, the CEO, and it sounded like a real blessing at the time. Well, it may not have been, because it said all new business in BorgWarner would come through Muncie. Well, they have a lot of new businesses, a lot of new products, and they didn't want it coming through Muncie. So either, and it was a legal document, and they tried their best to get it back. We weren't going to yield. So it was either all new products, business would come through Muncie, or they'd let us run our course and close. So I think that was part of it. And this new, when we have this closing, part of the agreement was, the letter, everything will be nullified. So I think that was one of the reasons they decided to close. But we are the only BorgWarner union factory. I didn't know if you knew that or not. And the unions are getting a bad rep. But we've gotten nothing that they didn't agree to. And when we hire in, we're promised that if we work 30 years, we will be able to retire, have a pension, and health care. So we buy into that. And so when people come to work here, it's like a lifetime commitment. Once you invest a couple of years, you don't want to give that up. You don't want to relocate. You don't want to have to make that time up. So it's a commitment. We know for our life we're going to be stuck here. And for some people, it's like a sentence. We can't leave for 30 years. But on the plus side of that, you have people with a lot of time, and they're coming and going, and you have a lot of experience. I mean, we have people from all ranges of seniority. We've had 2 people just retired in the last month with 62 years seniority, hired in 46, which is a long time. But with all that experience, I mean, when I first hired in, if we had problems on a machine, we didn't have to call machine repair or all we had to do was just step down to the first older guy. He knew how to run all those machines.
all this experience, and he could come down and, yeah, if you had a problem, he could help you get on size or whatever it was. Just a sea of experience. And they used to hire their foremen that way. They didn't hire them out of college. They didn't hire people with just super GPAs. They would hire them off the line. These foremen knew the jobs. If you had a problem, call your foreman over, he could correct it. And because of all that, over the years, you just got all this knowledge. And we just couldn't help but run a good product. The experience is just overwhelming. I mean, and the older people were always teaching the younger people. And at some point, they would get to the point where they didn't need instruction. And all of a sudden, instead of being taught, they were the mentors. They were teaching. So over the years, it's just like we couldn't help but make a good product. And if you've ever inside the factory, there's a main aisle that runs the full length of the factory. And there are some super huge, large signs with a lot of little witty sayings from a lot of them from our CEO. And there's one that says, quality will long be remembered after price is forgotten. They may pay a little extra for our product, but you ask anybody with a four-wheel drive unit, what is the best product to put in it? And they'll say BorgWarner. You ask any of them if they would be willing to pay a little extra money for it? Sure. So sure, we may charge a little more for our unit, but it's second to none. And I would challenge any non-union factory, because we've got all this experience, to match us on quality. Our quality is just world-renowned. And that's what I said. We've got so much experience. And the sad part is, all this experience is really going to be disbanded, dispersed. And it would, to me, it would have made a little bit of sense to like gather some of this up and send it to another plant and just use this. Because, see, when we stay for a place our whole lives, there's a lot of factories where the turnover is so much. You know, there's no benefit of staying for 30 years if there's no retirement. So we're committed where they will turn over, and, you know, it's just, I think they could have used our people in a better way than just dismissing them.
That's a good point of view.
I mean, that's my opinion.
So tomorrow is your official last day? Right?
No, I'm working till the 24th.
Working the 24th, okay.
Yeah, I've got the time to work to the end, which will be 2 more weeks. Most of them will be gone tomorrow. Well, actually, some of them, if they get the opportunity to work this weekend, overtime, they can work Saturday. So Saturday will officially be their last day. And so I know for at least 146, this weekend will be their last day. But mine is just 2 weeks away, and then I'm done.
Another big aspect of this is how the union that has been here, the local, for 80 years is now going to have to close up shop.
That's another sour point in our lives. We have, a union hall out here that's really nice. Value of $300,000 to $500,000. We paid for that. It's paid for. Our union bought that. We bought it. It's ours. Well, the International has stepped in, and they're going to basically confiscate it. And that's common practice. Our union's going to be disbanded, and they will take over. But we also had a couple funds of about $100,000 each. And in one fund, somebody opened it up to what they call welfare, assisting people. And there's nothing wrong with that. Well, they used all the funds up. But we still have a fund of $100,000 that the International has sort of taken over. They're going to get it. And it's always been customary, not just here in this local, but in the UAW, that when a person retires, he gets a watch, an engraved watch for his time of service. Well, we're not getting watches. They spent the money in the one fund, and that's where the watches were supposed to come out of. But we still have the other fund, $100,000, and the International won't let us spend it. So we're kind of upset with the International because we give them, I'm not sure lately, but at one point we were giving them between $30,000 and $50,000 a month union dues. So they've gotten a lot of money out of us over the years, and we don't get a watch. So, so some people are kind of upset with them.
What's your opinion about it?
I think they should have bought us a watch. I mean, I can afford to go buy a watch. I don't need a watch when I retire, but it's something it's just customary, and it's just something some people got until the funds ran out. So it's like if you're going to buy it for anybody, you ought to buy it for everybody. And like I said, the money's there. Supposedly we can't touch this fund, but I disagree. You know, if they've got any money, they ought to be able to use it. So anyway, I think they should have bought us a watch. It would be an engraved watch just telling us our years of service. So.
My dad's got his.
And I'm not going to get one.
My dad retired from Ford. Did I tell you that?
From Florida?
Ford.
Ford, no.
Yeah, he's president of the Ford Retirees where I'm from.
Okay.
So, what I'll do now is I'll just follow you in the kitchen just like we left. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay.
And that concludes another day at the gear.
You gotta say that one more time. Sorry.
What? And that concludes another day at the gear.
Okay. Right.
That I'm getting $50,000. Sounds good, but that's going to buy my insurance the rest of my life. And you know, insurance is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
You're not gonna be covered under the Viva.
the what?
What is that called?
There's Cobra.
No, I'm thinking of the one that the UAW basically they bundled it all under. Like my dad,
Oh, I've never heard
he's
that.
been retired and it got put into a big Viva account.
Oh, I wish I would.
$300 million or whatever that GM, Ford, and Chrysler all put in.
See, I always thought that they should have done that to not to not get if they were going to sell our insurance, whatever, to find us a replacement as a group, because there's some people that can't get insurance. My wife, I doubt if it would be insurable. Luckily, last month she got on disability. We've been trying for 3 years. So for us, probably be okay. We don't know what it's going to include. We're still in the dark on that, but it's going to be something.
Yeah.
And if we had to go out and buy insurance for her, one guy down the street here, one block, when he retired, at first they said our insurance was going to cease the moment we retired for the people with 30 years. But the other people that didn't have 30 was going to get 6 months, which we didn't think that was fair. And they finally extended ours. But he checked around because he had to have it like immediately, the insurance, and it was going to cost him $900 a month for him and his wife, just 2 people. Like, how do you afford that? You know, $12,000 a year, $10,000. So, you know, insurance is expensive. So we're trying to find something cheap. I'll get it for 6 months, and then I think Cobra will help pay it for like another 9 months. So that'll help for a while.
I guess I was under the impression since you did qualify for retirement, you would get the retirement
They
insurance.
sold it.
Oh, wow.
The people with under 30 voted to sell it. We had a vote at Central High School, and it was like 3-1. Well, that's 3-1 as far as the ratio, and I didn't think they had any right to even vote. It's my insurance, but and I think the International sold us out because all we've heard for 2 years is they will not take your insurance. We will make sure they don't take your insurance. Well, they took it.
Now, what makes somebody's insurance like Gerald Poe's not be affected? Or was his affected?
Well, see, he's already retired, and it depends on when he was retired. There's something about 1989. My best understanding is we had a contract dispute, 1989. We settled it, and when the paperwork came back, they had a little clause that our union caught that says that basically the insurance was not lifetime. And we caught it. Instead of stopping it right then, they said they had some clause about we reserve the right to contest this. But they're saying anybody prior to that will be able to keep theirs. Anybody after that, and you watch now when the plant closes, they'll come after the retiree's insurance. It's going to happen. These people that think they're safe, if it's after 1989, there's probably going to be a court case. So, see, for us, we could have, they asked us in February, they said we had 3 days to retire if we wanted to keep our insurance, but we wouldn't get a severance package. And we felt like we was being coerced to get out. And I'm like, you're not going to make me leave. But I still think if we would have went ahead and retired in February, thinking we had our insurance, the minute this place closes, the lawsuit will come. They're still going to try to take it. So we couldn't have gained anything. We'd have lost a severance package. So I think there's a lawsuit coming.
Wow.
So, you know, it's life in the factories.
Yeah. Okay. I know a lot of the guys, my father, his got bundled into that Viva package they did a couple years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Which is basically they try to get out from under that whole burden of it. So they said, okay, a one-time payment is going turned over to the UAW, and UAW invested it in this special fund called Viva or whatever, and that's what they're drawing from.
Sounds good. You know, if you can do it as a group like that, you're going to be able to take people that may not get insurance otherwise. So
He retired in '95.
he may be okay then.
Well, thanks again, and I will be in contact.